a foot it lightness, visual lightness. So you're going to be adding a ring foot, and that foot is going to be, so if you have a hexagonal plate, your foot is going to be hexagonal. If you have a round plate, it's going to be round. If you have a fish-shaped plate, I don't know what shape that foot is going to be, but you're going to have to pay attention to the shape of your plate, and the foot needs to support that plate. So I'm going to share my screen and show you a couple things, and then I'll jump into the demo. So let's start here. So, cute cat memes, you can't beat them. The thing you're going to need today is a ribbon tool. So people who are at home, you have a ribbon tool. Specifically, you're going to use that round end of the ribbon tool. And people who are here in person, you also are going to use a ribbon tool. You are going to be flattening a piece of clay, and I'm going to be showing you how to do that. You do not need to use a slab roller to flatten this piece of clay, people who are in person. It is such a small amount of clay that you do not have to use a slab roller to do it. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to check and see which stage your plate is in. And this is really, really important, because if your clay is super wet and plasticky, it's just going to distort when you take it out of your mold. And so it's really important that it's leather hard. In fact, we want it dry leather hard. When you pick it up out of the mold, we want it to stay nice and straight, no floppy woppy. Once you have established that your plate is dry leather hard, you're going to use that towel that in person, I gave in-person students a little piece of towel yesterday. People who are at home, hopefully you have an old towel or rag that you can use for this as well. And you're going to carefully place that towel on top of your plate and then do a little flip. In fact, actually the best way to use that towel is to fold it up so it just supports the interior of the plate. And then you're going to do a quick flip so that when you eventually take the plate and the plastic off, the plate is being supported not so much on the edges, but on the inside. Then you're going to need to go get some new clay, about a golf ball of clay, wedge it up really well so it'll be less likely to crack, and you're going to roll a fat coil. So I'll show you this in the demo a little bit more closely in a little bit. You can use a rolling pin, you can use the throwing technique, but we basically want a long strip that's about 1/8 of an inch thick. Then you're going to use this magical ribbon tool to cut a ribbon of clay, and it's going to be rounded on one side because the ribbon tool is going to give you a roundness on one side, and it's actually going to be flat on the other side. That's perfect, because then we can take this ribbon of clay that's flat on one side and rounded on the other, and we can score and slip that flat side onto the bottom of our pot. That way it connects really well, and then the bottom of the foot is nicely rounded because that's the round side of the coil. So you're going to score and slip that coil, and you're going to follow the perimeter of the bottom of your plate. So that means if you're doing a hexagonal plate, you're going to follow the perimeter of the flat part of the plate. If you're doing a fish-shaped plate, you're going to follow the perimeter of that flat bottom part of the plate, and that's where the foot is going to go, because it has to support it in that portion of the plate where the angle changes from being flat to being angled. That's where that foot needs to go. If it's like right in the center, like right here, that's not going to be a very stable foot. So it has to be out here, out at that spot where the plane changes from being flat to being angled. That's your magic spot right there. So you're going to first just map it out, lay it out, make sure it all fits, make sure it's, turning the little angles it needs to turn, and then mark where that's going to go. Score and slip the bottom of your plate, score and slip the coil, plunk it down on there, and then you're going to use your sponge in a U shape, and you're going to use that U-shaped sponge to just smooth all the way around every single side of that coil, and until it really looks integrated with the form, as though it was always there. Then, as long as we're looking at the bottom of the plate, you're going to smooth up the bottom. If there's any wrinkles or tears or things like that, smooth that up with your sponge as well. Get your initials and your hour number on the bottom, because that's something that I'm going to be grading you on for this project. And then snap a picture of that foot. That is your photo requirement for today. Your progress picture should be of your foot. If you don't get that far, if you're still adding your design and that's all you do today, then take a photograph of that for today. That can be your progress picture for today if that's what you worked hard on, if that's what you got done for today. But ideally, I would want you to try to get done with the foot if you can. Okay, don't rush and do a sloppy job just to get done with the foot. Just get as far as you can doing a good job on your neat little mark making for your plate. So if you get that far, if you do make the plate today and if you do make the foot today, flip the pot back on its tray so it can sit on its foot and kind of like gravity can help bring them together. Bag it up tight for the weekend. But that's all that we're going to do with it for this week. Tomorrow, Friday, there will be a Google Meet for everybody who's not doing the science MCA. You will have a Google Meet, and we'll be doing something completely different tomorrow. And so you will not be working with your plate tomorrow unless you're a VLA kid and you're behind and you have your plate at home. So if you don't get that far, if you don't add the foot today, you're going to be putting a damp paper towel on your plate just to really ensure that it stays workable for Monday. And you're going to bag it up tight with that wet paper towel or damp paper towel. Okay. If you're done though with most of your construction, you don't need that paper towel. You're almost done. Okay. So I'm going to demo that process. There we go. Okay. So you kind of saw me do this, I think, on the little screen, but I'll do it again. So here's my plate. I still have to finish adding my design. And so that's important. If you're not done adding your design, do that first. That is most important because right now the plate has this nice snug little base of this plate that it's fitting in. And so if you pop this out and put a foot on it and then put it back in there and try and continue to add your design, the mold is not going to hug those curves like it used to because the foot is going to be in the way. So definitely finish your designs first. That is primary. Then do the little flippy thing, put your towel in there, fold it up nice and small, do a quick like that. Peel off the mold, peel off the paper. I forgot a sponge. I'm going to go get a sponge. Don't you love it when somebody just walks away from you right in the middle of their demo? That's awesome. Okay, so really important that you scrub at the lip of your pot. I'm doing that U-shaped thing. So I'm making the sponge be a U shape like Pac-Man. So I'm Pac-Manning the lip of the pot to make it be nice and round and smooth, no rough, sharp edges. I'm also going to scrub at the bottom a little bit just to remove any wrinkles or, imperfections that are on the bottom there. We're going to refine, refine, refine. That's going to be our refrain for every project we do this trimester. Refine, refine. So now I'm ready to make my coil. So I have a piece of clay here. I could do the throwing technique to flatten it out. And I'm only ever just throwing it either this direction or this direction because I only want it to stretch the long way because I want to make a long coil. I could also use my rolling pin to roll it out. But honestly, I don't feel like that does a great job of making it even. So I like the throwing method better. Okay, so now that feels pretty consistent to me. So I'm going to take my ribbon tool and I'm going to take the round end of it and I'm going to embed that round end in my slab and I'm going to pull toward myself like that. And now, look at that. It's got some cracks in it, but I'm going to take care of that. I'm not worried about that. So it's flat on one side, round on the other. Beautiful. I'm going to keep this handy because I might need to make more coil. I don't know if this is going to fit around the whole exterior of where my foot needs to go. Oh my gosh, I did it again. I left you. I'm so sorry. Okay, so I am going to do my scoring because I have a hexagonal shaped plate. I've got to score and slip in a hexagonal shape. So that spot where my pot stops being flat and starts curving up to make that sauce rim, that's where my scoring needs to go. So my clay is kind of very definitely dry leather hard. Like it's borderline almost too dry. You can hear that sound that it makes, a little bit too dry, but that's okay. I'm not going to freak out about it because I just hydrated it with my sponge, and I'm going to be hydrating it more in a little bit. So I think all will be well. Okay, so here's my little coil. I'm going to take not the round side, so the flat side, and I'm going to score and slip. Score and slip, score and slip. And I'm going to lay that coil on my score mark. So I kind of have to bend it to fit the curves that I have here. And just as I suspected, it is not quite long enough. Kind of thought that might be the case. So I'm glad I kept my slab handy because then I know it's the same thickness. And I'm just going to make a little additional coil. Score and slip. And then add that final bit of coil. Okay, so looks pretty rough right now, but here's where I take my sponge and I'm going to make it have that U shape again, right? Pac-Man. And I am going to gently squeeze that coil from the sides and the top by making that U shape, kind of squeeze it from all sides as I'm smoothing. So I just have a damp damp sponge doing that gentle squeeze. And it really does a good job of smoothing, filling in cracks. It really integrates that coil well into the base of my pot. So now that I'm pretty confident it's not going to move around at all, I'm squeezing a little bit harder. I'm really trying to get that to be really nice and neat. So I'm just spinning the pot on my towel and really trying to integrate that well. Then I'm going to do a little bit of additional smoothing on the inside here because I had some slip that kind of squirted out. I want to get rid of that. Get rid of that extra slip on the sides there. I would probably clean my sponge a little bit if I was closer to the sink right now because my sponge is really getting oversaturated with clay. But that's how it looks. So it's kind of this vague hexagon shape, really nice and round, like a rounded coil. And when I set it on its feet, it sits level, which is key. That's really important. Like if you flip it over and it's all wah, wah, then you got to fix that. You got to make it more level. Now, one alternative version of doing your foot, if you want to do a broken foot, that's what this is called. This is made up of pieces of clay that are all approximately the same size, scored and slipped one on each side. So each foot piece is centered on a side of the lip. So that's another alternative if you want. Obviously, if you're doing a circular plate, your coil is going to be a circle. If you did your plate on the wheel, this was just for your enjoyment. You're going to be trimming your foot on the wheel if you're a wheeler. Although if you're nervous about trimming the foot on the wheel, because I'm not there to help you, you could do your design today, wrap your pot up really well for the weekend, and trim your foot on Monday when I'm back, and I'd be able to help you out with that. So, I forgot. I got to put my initials on the bottom. So I'll do my signature, my super fancy signature. So it roughed up some spurs there. I'm going to wait till those are dry because then I'll just be able to brush them away. And then I'll write my hour number on there as well. Okay. So that is your process for today. Snap a picture of the bottom, please, so I can see name, hour, and foot and smoothness, and then put it back on your tray. I don't think I have a tray. Um, your plate, you won't need this anymore. So this, if it's not destroyed, I'd like to reuse it. So then just put it back where you got it from, either in your Ziploc baggie or in the box here in the classroom, and just put this on your plastic tray. No more plate needed if it's got a foot. Okay, I'm going to be checking your photos today. I want to see some beautiful feet. You can message me if you have any questions. Otherwise, Miss McElern is an art person. She's phenomenal. She can answer your questions. She can help you on the wheel. She's wonderful. You don't need me. You guys got this. All right. Thank you so much for listening. Have a really good day.